LeBron James, a 23-year reign of dominance, and arguably the NBA's ultimate lightning rod. Respect? Sure, most grudgingly acknowledge the king. But a legion can't stomach him on the hardwood and off. It's the smile, some say, masking a dagger aimed squarely at your spine. Jealousy, a loose tongue, the stark reality of being unable to contain him. Take your pick. All fuel the animosity. The offseason glow faded, and familiar NBA grudges simmered. Many players craved LeBron's spotlight, forgetting the golden rule. Challenge the king, prepare to fall. History is littered with those who tested LeBron James and found only bitter defeat. Rewind to the mid-2000s and the Washington Wizards. From 06 to 08, a playoff trilogy unfolded between Washington and Cleveland, a story always ending in DC's heartbreak. The 2006 Wizards series? All about the chatter. LeBron, slick as ever, taps Gilbert Arenas before those killer free throws in Game 6. Missed them both. Then Damon Jones, who Arenas had been riding the whole time, nails the game winner. Arenas was so riled up that they put Damon Jones in the game. And that LeBron passed him the ball hurt even more. The rematch came in 2007, but a depleted Wizards team, missing Arenas and Butler, were unceremoniously swept aside by LeBron and the Cavs. The following March, with playoff implications hanging heavy, Washington craved a regular season victory against Cleveland. With seconds ticking down in a nail-biter, the Wizards clung to a 2-point lead. DeShawn Stevenson, tasked with guarding James on the pivotal possession, watched as LeBron's potential game winner clanged harmlessly off the rim. Flush with confidence, Stevenson didn't mince words in the postgame. "He's overrated," Stevenson declared, and quote me on that. Sleep evaded DeShawn Stevenson before facing LeBron. It wasn't just another game, it was a reckoning. Playing the Lakers, he admitted, meant a long night. He saw a chasm between Kobe's battles and LeBron's dominance. Stevenson's barbs, however, drew a dismissive wave from James, who likened responding to Stevenson to Jay-Z deigning to acknowledge Soulja Boy. The analogy ignited a firestorm. When the Wizards and Cavaliers clashed in the 2008 playoffs, Soulja Boy himself arrived for Game 3 in D.C., proudly sporting a Stevenson jersey, pouring gasoline on the already raging inferno. Despite DeShawn Stevenson's desperate attempts to rally the Washington Wizards, including a shout-out from the rapper Soulja Boy that briefly energized the team in a blowout victory, their efforts proved futile. LeBron's Cavaliers crushed their playoff hopes in 6 games. James, as usual, stuffed the stat sheet with a dominant 30-10-8 performance, silencing Stevenson's bravado and reducing his scoring to a paltry 12 points on dismal 37% shooting. The humiliation didn't end there for the Wizards guard. Jay-Z himself piled on, dropping a diss track that amplified Stevenson's misery. Shifting gears to LeBron's early years, both in Cleveland and the nascent Miami Heat era, no rival loathed King James, with quite the fervor of Joakim Noah. The Chicago Bulls' fiery center, renowned for his boundless energy, relentless defense, and expressive on-court demeanor, became a vocal and persistent critic. Joakim Noah, even before his Defensive Player of the Year accolade in 2014, never shied from voicing his disdain for the king. Early in LeBron's reign, Noah was already chirping. You could practically see the steam rising off their exchanges on the court. LeBron, jawing back, edging closer, someone had to intervene. Noah, the fiery Frenchman, it seemed, just bristled at LeBron's perceived arrogance, taking issue with his entire aura. Noah couldn't stand LeBron's swagger, the way he seemed to float above the game, even while dismantling it. "He just rubbed me the wrong way," Noah would later admit. Down 20, dancing after a free throw? Nah, I wasn't having it. Then came the infamous Cleveland diss. "Man, I just stayed in my hotel. Looking out that window. Depressing." That comment just added fuel to the already raging fire. Oof, Cleveland, right? Not exactly a vacation destination. Has anyone ever said, "Hey, let's hit up Cleveland for the summer break"? Cleveland ain't all that. Noah would bark. So when King James bounced to South Beach, no tears were shed, the beef simmering nicely. Gotta hand it to the Heat, though. Even if they were dripping in Hollywood flash, they balled out. Still, beyond some fleeting regular season glory, Noah's on-court payback was mostly talk. Joakim Noah's animosity, it turns out, was less about Cleveland's city limits and more about LeBron James's inescapable dominance. For playoff clashes, for defeats, a mere 5 victories salvaged across those series. James, meanwhile, casually dropped 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists per game, a stat line guaranteed to fuel any competitor's frustration. Every year, the championship path ran directly through King James, a truth Noah clearly resented. As the Bulls and Celtics roars faded, a new beast emerged from the East to challenge King James, the Indiana Pacers. This wasn't your glitz and glamour squad, led by Paul George's silky offense and anchored by the grit of David West, George Hill, and Roy Hibbert. The Pacers were a defensive junkyard dog, arguably the toughest test LeBron faced during his Miami reign. Like those Bulls, those Wizards, hell, any team dreaming of Eastern Conference glory, Indiana found LeBron guarding the playoff gates. From 2012 to 2014, Miami and Indiana clashed in a trilogy of postseason wars, each series a white-knuckle affair. In 12, with Chris Bosh sidelined, it took Herculean efforts from LeBron and Wade to finally subdue the Pacers in 6 brutal games. Enter Lance Stevenson, drafted 11, barely a blip on Indy's radar then. Yet headlines found him. A choke sign, flash from the bench after a LeBron brick. Subtle? Not exactly. LeBron asked for comment, offered ice. Lance Stevenson, you want a quote? I'm not even giving him the time. Knock it off. The King wasn't amused. Come 2013, Lance was a fixture, logging minutes every playoff night. The Pacers stretched the conference finals to a grueling 7 games, a testament to their grit, but ultimately, the Heat prevailed. That series, etched in memory, forever bears the mark of LeBron's game, one buzzer beater. A high-arcing prayer, launched and answered. Then, in 2014, a rematch in the conference finals. The Pacers, emboldened by convincing Game 1 victory, swaggered with a newfound confidence, convinced this was their year to dethrone the King. Miami roared back, snatching 3 wins on the trot. But then came Game 5, etched forever in the NBA's collective memory, courtesy of Lance Stevenson. He was a force, a pest, a revelation. Tasked with the unenviable duty of guarding LeBron, he thrived, all while finding the basket himself, topping Indiana's scoring in Game 2 and dominating the glass with 11 boards in Game 3. Stevenson clawed, he scrapped, he did everything short of magic to will the Pacers to victory. And he got under LeBron's skin, a master provocateur pushing every button he could find. It worked. He pickpocketed the King, tripped him up, and even managed an elbow, all contributing to James's foul woes and a shockingly meager 7-point performance. A dismal 2 for 10 shooting night that was anything but King-like. Lance Stevenson's stat line from that game? Utterly forgettable. Nobody recalls the defensive hustle or those paltry 12 points. Instead, he's etched in basketball infamy for a stunt unseen before or since, breathing down LeBron James' neck. Literally. The image, a surreal puff of air invading the King's personal space, became an instant meme. While Indiana stole the win that evening, extending the series, it merely poked the bear. A seething LeBron arrived for Game 6, fueled by a singular purpose, silencing Stevenson permanently. Predictably, retribution was swift and decisive. Miami dismantled the Pacers, a 33-point embarrassment after 3, marking their 3rd straight year of torment. Unlike the likes of DeShawn Stevenson, Joakim Noah, and Lance Stevenson, only one antagonist dared to whisper boasts over LeBron, and occasionally, those boasts held water. 2011 saw Dallas, propelled by Dirk Nowitzki's MVP brilliance, claim their first title. But lost in the Dirk fervor was Jason Terry, a finals revelation averaging 18 a night. Nowitzki circling Haslam, an expertly thwarted pass. Jason Terry, fresh off draining a dagger 3, rode the high of Dallas's championship hard. The offseason found him in a Young Jeezy video, practically bathing and gloating. Behind the scenes, Terry was caught belting out a mantra, lose, 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 a not-so-subtle jab aimed squarely at LeBron. Jason Terry, emboldened by a championship ring, suddenly saw himself channeling LeBron. Newly minted as a Celtic for the 2013 season, Terry practically vibrated with Boston pride and Miami disdain. Bring on the heat, he dared, visions of dismantling the reigning champs dancing in his head. We're ready. We want that smoke. LeBron, it seemed, had just been baited. Terry, fresh off his championship with Dallas, couldn't resist poking the bear. Recalling his failed attempt to contain LeBron in the 11 finals, he brashly declared his desire for another crack at him, be it in the Eastern Conference Finals or wherever their paths might cross. Fate, however, proved unkind to Terry's Celtics, who fizzled out in the first round against the Knicks. Still, a regular season clash in Miami offered Terry a taste of what was to come. It was a moment of utter humiliation as a turnover by Terry ignited a Miami fast break. Then came the reckoning. A Norris Cole feed found LeBron barreling toward the hoop, Jason Terry a mere speed bump in his path. What followed was basketball violence, a poster dunk for the ages. Terry, bless his soul, gave chase from a good 10 feet back. LeBron, post-game, barely concealed a smirk. Payback, it seemed, tasted sweet. That dunk on Terry? Chef Iskis. Delicious. Especially knowing how loudmouthed JT could be. But enough about that beef. This next guy didn't just have smoke with LeBron. He'd smoke with everyone. For the last decade, he's been the league's ultimate agitator, the guy you love to hate. We're talking, naturally, about Draymond Green. Draymond Green, a virtual afterthought after his 2012 draft, was launched into orbit by David Lee's misfortune in 2015. From there, he was all gas, no brakes, becoming the Warriors' snarling ID, their defensive cornerstone, and a walking, talking middle finger to anyone daring to whisper a crossword. His initial sparring partner was Blake Griffin and the Clippers, but after a few collisions with the King in the 2015 finals, a genuine animosity towards LeBron began to simmer in Green's competitive cauldron. Joakim Noah wouldn't be caught dead saying anything nice about LeBron. Hey, might have even been putting it lightly. Despite Golden State snagging the crown, LeBron was a one-man wrecking crew against Green and the Warriors. 36 points, 13 boards, 9 assists, practically toying with them. But Draymond still clutched those bragging rights, used LeBron's force to his advantage. Golden State reigned supreme. The Splash Brothers splashed, while Cleveland went home empty-handed. The crown jewel of LeBron's rivalries? Draymond Green. By 16, Cavs vs. Warriors was the finals matchup. Things got spicy. Game 4, a Warriors nearlock, saw LeBron hop over falling Green. Petty? Maybe. Green retaliated with a shot below the belt. The King wasn't amused. Words flew. Green reportedly calling LeBron shall we say, less than flattering name. The incident? Instant net foodie. Draymond, man, he crossed the line. I'm down with the battles, the intensity, all that. But some of the stuff he said, it was just too much. That flagrant foul, number 4 of the playoffs for him, that cost the Warriors. Automatic suspension for Game 5. A must-win on the road for Cleveland. They were up 3-1 sure, but they choked it away, and a lot of that was Green being out. He lit a fire under LeBron. After that, James was playing possessed for the rest of the finals, and the Cavs snatched the title. The echoes of the block still rang. James swatting dreams, not just leather. Later, LeBron, fueled by that 16 triumph, needled Green and the Warriors with an Ultimate Warrior. A haunting reminder. The Halloween party that year? More of the same. When Golden State roared back in 17, Green fired back with a quickie shirt, a jab at Cleveland Arena. But fate, as it often does, took a turn. Thanks to the behind-the-scenes maneuvering of Rich Paul and Maverick Carter, the animosity dissolved. The fire cooled. What was once a bitter rivalry, sparked by on-court battles and off-court barbs, eventually morphed into an unexpected camaraderie. Then there was Brian, always griping. How do you put up with this guy? See, proximity breeds familiarity. Being close to Rich Paul meant Brian and I were constantly bumping into each other. Turns out, the dude genuinely liked me. Speaking of unlikely friendships, our next antagonist-turned-ally shares a similar narrative. Initially fueled by beef with LeBron, he eventually found himself embraced as a teammate. Stanley Johnson, fresh out of Arizona and the 8th pick in the 15 draft, arrived in Detroit with zero chill. Forget rookie deference. When the Pistons met LeBron's Cavs in the 16 playoffs opening round, Johnson went straight for the King. I'm definitely in his head, Johnson declared, even after Cleveland steamrolled them 107-90. He doubled down, claiming LeBron laces his shoes up the same way I lace my shoes. He has to come out there and compete. The rookie talked a big game, but the scoreboard told a different story. He hits the court looking like he just rolled out of bed. Johnson sniped. That's the NBA's circus. Anyone can catch a beating on any given night. Johnson then decided to insult the entire Cavaliers team. LeBron, naturally, relished the provocation. Those wizards, always yapping. A chorus of bench warmers chirping from the sidelines like they were actually clocking minutes. Every foray into the corner was met with their rehearsed pronouncements, some phantom strategy session only they were privy to. Truth was a handful of them ever saw the floor. Stanley Johnson, a pup fresh out of the draft, barked loud about LeBron. One might have mistaken him for a courtside heckler, considering his meager point totals back then. But James, ever the pragmatist, chose his response on the hardwood. Cleveland promptly brushed the Pistons aside in a sweep, with LeBron schooling Johnson specifically, shooting a ridiculous 13 of 15 when guarded by the rookie. Message received, loud and clear. Johnson, the young pup, found himself pinned again beneath the King's considerable frame. Another basket for James, another lesson etched in the rookie's memory. The brashness faded, replaced by a silent understanding. Years later, fate, in its infinite jest, would unite them as Lakers teammates, transforming a once-heated rivalry into an unexpected camaraderie. However, not every feud ends in handshakes and mutual respect. Enter Enes Kanter Freedom, a name synonymous with unrelenting criticism of LeBron. Their animosity ignited back in 2017 when James casually critiqued the Knicks' draft choices, uttering words that would clearly get under Kanter's skin. They passed on a really good one. Then came the Knicks draft blunder. New York nabbed Frank Ntilikina, but LeBron, ever the observer, publicly suggested they should have gone with Dennis Smith Jr. and Enes Kanter Freedom. Predictably, chimed in via Twitter. When Cleveland faced the Knicks that season, LeBron addressed the brewing beef, dismissing any notion he was solely targeting Ntilikina. My comments weren't all about Frank, he clarified, hinting that New York's reaction was a tad overblown. Then there was Enes Kanter Freedom, never one to bite his tongue when it came to LeBron. What was his deal anyway? Cut to later that same day, and wouldn't you know it, Kanter and a player, Mil China, were right in the thick of a courtside dust-up. The air crackled, anticipation thick as LeBron squared off against, not Mil China, but Kanter, the crowd's hunger sated. And there it was, the inevitable broadside. Kanter, predictably, taking another shot. Everyone knew the Ed. His consistent, if tiresome, criticism was coming. The clock was ticking. The familiar circus had begun. The final score was a brutal indictment of Kanter and the Knicks, a Cavaliers rout. And LeBron, ever the showman, took the theatrics a step further back in 2016 during his OKC days, so utterly unbothered by the on-court drubbing that he resorted to sideline amusements. Forget the game. King James was now conquering the bottle flip challenge, aiming for that perfect upright landing. Kanter, unsurprisingly, did not find the humor in LeBron's bench-bound nonchalance. Let me tell you something real. This ain't just any game. You waltz in here, my territory, and pull that water bottle stunt again? Doesn't matter who you think you are, what name you go by. Understood? Shiny crown or tiara didn't matter. He knew what was coming. A battle. And on his watch, nobody was getting bullied. LeBron, unfazed by Kanter's barbs, dismissed them as amateur theatrics, doubling down on his self-assured persona. That's the deal, he retorted, subtly flexing his power. I'm the king. My wife's the queen, and my daughter, the princess. We run the whole kingdom. To add insult to injury, LeBron then posted an Instagram photo, cheekily thanking the king of New York and declaring Madison Square Garden his favorite playground. When the Cavaliers landed in New York, James dismissed questions about Kanter with a shrug during the shoot-around. During the game itself, he subtly twisted the knife, sporting Nike LeBron 15s emblazoned with "I'm King." The pettiness peaked later that season when LeBron, for the first time ever, was ejected from a game against Miami. Kanter pounced, trolling James with his now infamous hashtag #Strive for Greatness, a digital jab he'd repeat like a broken record whenever James stumbled. But after the final buzzer, Kanter, ever the agitator, slyly dared LeBron to truly claim the New York throne by joining the Knicks that summer. The challenge dripped with sarcasm. So, who's really running this town? King James, you say? Prove it. Come be our savior on July 1st. Kanter wasn't done jabbing, promising LeBron he'd see him at life's finish line, a backhanded good luck tossed in for good measure. He kept the heat on, too. When the pandemic hit, Kanter took his grievances to CNN, publicly airing his disappointment in James for his perceived silence on the vaccine issue. The words dripped with exasperation. I heard it. I was very disappointed, and it's ridiculous. Enes Kanter freedom, however, never let up. He believed LeBron, as a league icon, had a responsibility to advocate for vaccination. Later, Kanter took aim at Nike, even calling out Phil Knight and the Jordan brand with customized sneakers emblazoned with accusations of modern-day slavery and branding Nike as hypocritical. Even after LeBron stopped engaging, Kanter continued his critiques. When you play alongside LeBron, he declared, referencing the Lakers' struggles with Westbrook, it's all about LeBron. Enes Kanter freedom saw LeBron as the NBA's unchallenged autocrat. The guy's a despot, he'd fume, running the league like his personal fiefdom. Control the press, shape the story, and if you dare cross him, you're shipped out. Everyone's walking on eggshells. Even post-NBA, Enes Kanter freedom's anti-LeBron fervor burns bright, a one-sided bonfire since his 2022 departure. The bottle-flipping incident remains a cringeworthy lowlight on Kanter's highlight reel. The Knicks? Mere spectators, unable to elevate their game to a competitive simmer. More recently, the last to stir the LeBron pot was Dillon Brooks, a modern maestro of on-court antagonism. Brooks, a specialist in invading personal space, has earned quite a reputation. Verbal jabs flew. For once, though, Brooks found himself on the receiving end, not the deliverer. It was LeBron James serving up the taunts. After a string of buckets over Brooks, the king flashed the too small gesture, a dismissive wave from the free throw line. That dagger, 18 points. Brooks never let fade. Fast forward 2 years, tempers flare, nearly a brawl with Shannon Sharpe, and Dillon was simmering with a score to settle. All fire and fury, he barked about King James. He don't want the smoke? Heading left. That was the strategy, funnel him left, force the settle or the pass. But little did anyone know, it was just the opening bell for a proper feud. Come playoff time, Lakers facing the Grizzlies, Dillon Brooks swaggered onto the court, cockiness oozing. 7 games against LeBron? I'll send him fishing early. Hot off a stellar game 2, where he'd clearly gotten under LeBron's skin, Dillon Brooks was back to running his mouth. I ain't worried about him. He's past his prime. I've been handling business. Until he drops 40 on my head, he gets no respect from me. Brooks, unflinching, delivered the line with the cool detachment of a surgeon. But the incision went deeper. He ain't the king, he was back in Cleveland, rings and all. Shame I missed that prime. Know what I'm saying? A tougher assignment, surely. As was his custom, James offered no words, but instead authored a full-bodied rebuttal on the hardwood, reducing Brooks to an ejected spectator after a flagrant 2 foul. Brooks, stepping on the line as LeBron caught the ball, sent the king crashing. The verdict: Brooks' contact, both unnecessary and excessive. Brooks, ever audacious, found himself ejected with a flagrant 2. Post-ejection, silence. Game 4 saw LeBron, a vengeful maestro, paint the court with clutch shots over Brooks, a potent reminder of the perils of disrespecting the king. Again, Brooks goes to the press. The ultimate indignity arrived in Game 6, a Lakers annihilation, a 40-point margin of victory that unceremoniously ushered Brooks and the Grizzlies into off-season oblivion. Brooks, finally getting the on-court confrontation he craved, then ate crow as LeBron punctuated the series win with a playful jab on Instagram. But that's all, folks. Keen for more content like this? Check out another deep dive right here.